Kyrie's in the ring, and the lights dim, and out walks Mercedes Moné, who comes out in this tremendous outfit. This look at this look. New, her hair, the robe. I mean, looked like a superstar walking out here.
Completely, yeah.
Kyrie holds up the belt, and she takes off the robe, and she's like in her wrestling gear. They shake hands. And then Monet places Kyrie onto her shoulders and spins her off. This one probably needs a few more reps in terms of seamlessness when it comes to hitting the move.
So it was meant to be some sort of like glory rack into a DDT. There's been clips of her practicing this.
Because she was in Mexico for an extended period, and I'm sure is coming in with a lot of new wrinkles to her repertoire.
Yeah, and I think we should commend somebody for doing something brand new, debuting a new look, debuting a new finisher for something like this. Unfortunately, man, this was a bad start, a very bad start, and I think
the move looked rough, and on top of it, Kyrie had to sell it forever. She just had to lay there for this long promo after, and it was just like it didn't look like this devastating move, so it just felt clunky. That she had to just lay there.
It was poorly timed, and I'm not so sure about this type of move in general. Like, anyway, it's the type of move that
how many women are going to be able to take it too? Like, that are going to be.
Oh, in Stardom, you won't have any issue. I imagine, like, with proper timing and communication. But I just mean like the logic of the move itself, like going from a glory rack position into the person essentially just taking a bit of a normal DDT. I don't really like the move in general.
I don't even mean size wise. Like the timing, like it does take some like precision. Like both have to have it like down pat, that it's just, late in the match, like it's a pretty ambitious finisher to have. Like, if you're doing like a 20-minute match, and then at the end it's like just getting this thing perfect, which in time I'm like, it could look like a cool finisher, but not.
I guarantee you the next time she debuts this could be as early as a week from now even. I have a feeling they will be practicing it pretty often, because this was certainly, a real big blemish and a bit of an embarrassment on a debut here for Mercedes Moné.
She gets on the microphone. She knows about making history, and she's here to make more in New Japan and Stardom. And she is the CEO of this women's division, and enjoy the title while you can, and issues the challenge for Battle in the Valley in San Jose on February the 18th, which is the city that, if you don't recall, was where her and Charlotte had a really important match back in March of 2015 that you and I attended over WrestleMania weekend. And that was the match. That was the first time Vince McMahon attended a NXT show. And that was not the main event that night. That was Finn Balor and Adrian Neville. But that was the match that everybody raved about. And it was after that WrestleMania weekend that they booked the Barclays Center. So she has history in San Jose, that being the point there. But, you're spending a ton of money for Mercedes Moné, and this is obviously a big play for the U.S. market, and tells you like they are putting a ton into this Battle in the Valley show to put such a enormous match, not in Japan, but rather in San Jose.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is a show that also has Okada and Jay White on the poster, so you'd imagine, you'd have a relatively kind of authentic New Japan Pro Wrestling roster for this one as well. I also have to wonder, like, how much of this is logistical, especially if she will have other commitments in a North American-based promotion, like an AEW. We are, of course, recording this at 1:50 p.m. afternoon on a Wednesday. By tonight, and certainly by next week, we might get a better sense of exactly what her deal is with AEW, if there is one, and how that works with New Japan Pro Wrestling. But you and I had speculated that they were going to do this in the Yokohama arena for that Wrestle Kingdom. Doesn't look to me like she'll have any involvement there. But Stardom's Yokohama show, I believe, like, there have been reports that she would be committed to that one in April. So
the big April show, yeah, that's April 23rd.
Right. So we will ultimately see her there, but I guess, how often will we see her in Japan, especially if she's got a home promotion in North America? I imagine maybe she'll be reserved for these sort of, New Japan strong US shows.
Yeah. So This arrival, I mean, even Kevin Kelly noted it on the broadcast. This is the worst kept secret in professional wrestling, which I don't think was a bad thing. I think this is one where, had this been kept under lock and key and no one expected this, I would have said like that, like this is a performer that you want to have that sense of anticipation that is coming. And we will perhaps sometimes on New Year's Dash, they do throw out a number of subscribers that they get on New Japan World. We'll see if they throw out that figure, if they got a big bump this year. Because I would say like this show, if you got a boost, I would attribute number one to Omega and Ospreay. But Mercedes would not be too far off, but it also was not something that New Japan hammered it home with. But the word was definitely out there for weeks, which I don't think was a bad thing. But the segment itself, I think that it was. I think the news of her arriving is a big deal coming out. You have a match announcement that should make for a big show there. But the promo, like it certainly felt like it was
weak.
It was weak, but it was also, this was an angle and a promo aimed for the US market done in Japan. You had a match set up for another country. You had a promo in English that your audience is not going to necessarily all be understanding. And, you know, the payoff, like this was for the US market on a Japanese on Japanese soil.
Totally. Absolutely. And I think we have to remind ourselves, like New Japan is a very unique product in that it is very much catered locally to the Japanese audience, but internationally it's also playing to an English speaking audience. And so you're trying to do both at the same time. And at times it can feel slightly awkward. Guys like are able to kind of work through it. And certainly you have, you know, like people who have been in New Japan a long time who are able to cut both these English promos that still somehow work for a Japanese audience. And I think you got to see Mercedes Moné here try to adjust her delivery a little bit more, talking a little bit slower, you know, just kind of making sure all the key words are understandable. But nonetheless, you know, it was our first glimpse at Mercedes, Sasha Banks, speaking outside of a controlled WWE environment. She is about as homegrown, you know, well, she had some experience like in the indies, but like she, to me, at least, you know, most people are going to associate her with as a product of the Performance Center. They promote her as such, you know, in these presentations that they do to investors and whatnot. So, getting to hear her speak for the first time outside of the system, I think is going to take some adjustment. I sense that here, and I'm going to probably see a bit more of that if she does indeed, you know, take part in AEW. In AEW, if she does, again, if she is a part of that company, she'll be playing to a North American audience that I think will probably help her a little bit more. In Japan, you know, even though this crowd could make a reaction, I mean, they didn't, and I don't know if that's because they didn't like the promo, maybe they didn't like the segment, or maybe, you know, her visibility is that much less, or maybe they're just generally a bit more quiet. I don't know. Whatever factor it was probably not as home run as it was. But ultimately, what you wanted out of the segment was just this image of seeing Mercedes Varnado, Sasha Banks in a New Japan wrestling ring, on the ramp, and to build that buzz, you know, for their next few shows. And that alone, I think, was fine. Definitely could have been better with the move, but ultimately, it's going to be the matches that I think matter for this.
So is the closing scene of Dynamite tonight a Saraya getting into a passenger side of a vehicle, drives off, and it's revealed as a Mercedes? And we get the first tease of Mariah.
Mariah?
Mercedes and Saraya.
Mariah.
We're not going with that one, are we?
I doubt it.
And from this point on, this is the passion of the Ospreay. He is bloodied, beaten, and Omega is murdering this dude.
We knew this match would be good, but just how good, I don't know if anybody, like, you know, knew exactly what it would look like. They not only delivered a terrific in-ring athletic performance, a great technical performance, but it was dripping in excellent depth of story here.
And blood.
and blood as well. It was everything I thought it would be and more.